Switch Station 32. Today we're going to be talking about the Xbox Fan Fest they had yesterday. And it started off pretty good. It starts off with them trying to sell the Game Pass for the holiday season. It was pretty interesting. I think that with the Xbox, the Game Pass is really what's selling the Xbox right now. It's a really cool feature for the Xbox, and the Xbox One X being the most powerful console on the market right now really helps too. They're not going to catch Sony. They don't have a chance, but they are. The Game Pass is a really cool feature. And it starts off with them talking about they're going to have 16 games on for the holidays for Xbox Game Pass this year, coming right out. And they start off with PUBG, and they show a nice trailer for PUBG. It looks pretty good. And it shows a world premiere trailer of Void Bastards. It's a first-person shooter, comic book looking game. It's an independent game, but it looks pretty fun if you like that kind of stuff. It'd be fun for free on the Xbox Game Pass for sure. And it talked about Crackdown 3. And they finally give it a release date, February 15th, 2019. It got delayed, and a lot of people are upset about that, but Crackdown 3 is finally going to be coming out. And it showed the online multiplayer for Crackdown 3. It was pretty cool. Wrecking Zone is going to be one of the modes that is going to be online for Crackdown 3. It's a 5 versus 5 team. That looked pretty cool. It showed that you can kill your enemies. If they're up top on a building, you can take the whole building down and collapse the building on top of the other team. That was pretty interesting. It looked pretty cool. They had Terry Crews there in the commercial for it, in the trailer. That was neat. He was pretty funny. And after they get done talking about Crackdown 3, they went into talking about how they're going to have backwards compatibility with Crackdown 1. And that's going to be free on the Game Pass until November 30th. And that's pretty cool, because people like the original Crackdown are now going to be able to play it. That's one of the best features about Xbox too that's really starting to get Xbox rolling, is they're making their older games be able to be playable on the new system and updating them. So a lot of them are getting HD graphics too. So that's a really neat feature to sell an Xbox. Because they don't have the big of a library as most other systems as Sony and Nintendo. But what they're doing is they're making you be able to play your old library on Xbox One and Xbox One X. So all your old games you can play on one system. And that's pretty cool, because all the old systems you can't play on the new TV if you don't have HDMI. So that's a really nice feature. It makes you be able to keep your games and not want to sell them and just trade them in. A lot of people really like that. And we got a new trailer for Kingdom Hearts 3. It was a pretty neat trailer because it was all mostly gameplay, and we haven't seen gameplay trailers yet of Kingdom Hearts 3. We've only seen cinematic trailers, and that was pretty neat to see. You did see a little bit of gameplay at E3, but it wasn't like this. This was a lot more gameplay. It showed the puzzles. It showed the 100-acre forest from Winnie the Pooh, which was pretty neat. And they said there's going to be a lot of puzzles in the 100-acre forest. I think a lot of people will like that. And some people will know this, some people might not know it, but Kingdom Hearts 3 is going to be the first ever Kingdom Hearts on an Xbox system. So that's pretty neat. It shows Xbox is starting to get more third-party AAA Japanese titles. And they really need those. And the maker of Kingdom Hearts 3 talked about how they partnered with Disney. It was a pretty neat story. And he talked about how they came up with making the game. There was a Disney executive, and he was in an elevator, and they were both in an elevator. And they met, and they started talking about how Disney would like to make a video game with Square Enix, and that's how it became. They ended up going to the boardroom, of course, and made a real concept, but it all came from them two guys randomly meeting in an elevator. That's a pretty cool backstory, I think. And then they also talked about bringing Final Fantasy, the older titles, to Xbox, and that's really neat too because there's a big following for Final Fantasy, and a lot of people get a PlayStation, particular Final Fantasy fans, just so they know that they're getting Final Fantasy titles. So to have the back catalog coming to Xbox is a real seller too. I believe that's really going to help people that like RPGs, JRPGs, and people that like Final Fantasy in general. Now they're bringing Final Fantasy 13, Lightning Returns, and they're bringing their Legend collection too. Final Fantasy 7, 9, 10, and 10-2. The same collection they just announced for the Nintendo Switch is coming out for Xbox, and that's pretty cool. And they said that's going to be on Game Pass too, so that's really neat for Xbox to be able to get that with Game Pass. And then they had a trailer for Jump Force, and it was a gameplay trailer. It was pretty cool. They showed some graphics and the fighting and stuff, and that was pretty neat. And they gave the release date of February 15th, 2019. That was a pretty cool trailer. And then a new trailer for Just Cause 4. And they showed the weather elements and gameplay and all the destructive stuff you can do. You can pretty much do anything in that game. It showed the tornado and how the tornado's going to work and the weather effects. And the tornado is always going to be in the game, so you always got to work around the tornado. That was something we didn't learn at E3. We thought it just randomly came. At least I did. But now we know that it is always going to be there. So that's going to affect the gameplay, and it looked pretty neat. I'd recommend watching that trailer. And they announced 13 new games for mouse and keyboard. It was pretty neat, I guess, for people that like mouse and keyboard. A lot of people do. Some people don't. Some people like traditional controllers. Some people like mouse and keyboard. And they announced a partnership with Razer that they're going to be making mouse and keyboards, and they're the world's leader in gaming mouse and keyboards. So that's going to show that you're going to get quality keyboards and mouse for Xbox. And they talked about a little bit of Minecraft. They talked about a new game for Minecraft Dungeons. And they showed a trailer for a new mode in Minecraft, Cats versus Pandas. It was pretty neat, I guess. And one of the coolest things I liked about it was they showed Capcom and the creators of Devil May Cry. And they went to their studio and showed a little bit of where the studio is and outside the studio, and then give a little tiny tour of inside Capcom studio. That was pretty neat. I like that. And they went over a little bit of gameplay stuff with Devil May Cry. They went over the Mega Man arm and a little bit of gameplay. It was pretty interesting. That was one of my highlights. And of course, they talked about State of Decay. And State of Decay is one game that I've been wanting to play. I don't have an Xbox. If I do ever get an Xbox, State of Decay is probably going to be the first game I play. And they went over the new mode coming out for State of Decay, November 15th, Zed Hunters. They look pretty interesting. They showed new crossbows, some melee weapons, and some stuff like that, and stuff you're going to be able to do for Zed Hunters. I'd recommend seeing the trailer for that. Looks really interesting. I like that. And then they showed Metro Exodus Collector's Spartan Edition. And that looked really neat. It comes with a figure, and the figure was kind of neat, and it comes with a bunch of other stuff. It looked like it come with a guide. Let's see if I can get a picture and put it right up here. That looked pretty interesting. It looked like a nice collector's edition. And then they went into Forza Horizon 4. And I must say, I'm not a huge racing fan, but that game does look really cool, and that would be another game I'd really want to play on Xbox. And it showed a new mode, Fortune Island, with extreme terrain, and it looked really good, and a lot of drifting tracks, and a lot of weather. That looked really good. It showed lightning coming down, hitting a tree, and it falling on the road, and that was pretty neat. That was the Fortune Island for Forza Horizon 4 looks pretty cool. I must say that was another highlight for one of their big AAA games. And then it showed a little bit of Ken Block stuff. You can get a few of Ken Block's cars and a couple of trucks and stuff in the Forza Horizon 4. That was pretty interesting. Give a little bit more detail to the game. Anything that you can add to the game to make people want to buy it is a good thing. And they went over Black Friday deals. And the biggest one for me was $3.99 for an Xbox One X console. So $3.99 is the cheapest it's ever been, and to me, that's a steal of a deal. That's if you can get one of those for $3.99, that's totally worth it. And then they announced all 16 games on the Game Pass that's coming out for the holiday season. PUBG was the biggest one, and Hellblade, I'd say, were the two big games that people really don't want to play from the 16. And they ended it with two new studios they announced. In Exile, they make the Wasteland series. That's going to be good for Xbox, because Xbox needs more first-party titles. That's one big thing that they're lacking, is first-party titles, and I think with what they're trying to do is fix that problem, and you can tell they're putting a lot of effort into fixing that problem. And they got, the other one was Obsidian. They helped with Star Wars, the Knight of the Old Republic. They helped with Fallout New Vegas. I didn't know this, and both of those games are considered high in the gaming world, and I think that's really going to help Xbox, especially giving these studios the money to help them grow and be able to do more, because a lot of these studios have the talent, but they don't have the money. So now they have Microsoft backing them. They're definitely going to be able to make better games for sure. And that's how they ended it. It was a half-decent press conference, I think, for Fan Fest, but no talk of the next-gen Xboxes. I think a lot of people are disappointed by that. And no real big announcements for AAA games, just ones that we mostly know about. But for the most part, it was half-decent, and I had fun watching it. I don't know if all you guys did, or if you guys are just watching this video, but it was all right. It was nothing amazing. If you're into it, I'd recommend watching it. If you don't really have the time and you're just debating on watching a 2-hour press conference, I probably wouldn't recommend it, because there's nothing too crazy to get announced. And that's it for this video, Switch Station 32. If you have any comments or questions, leave them in. I'll get back to you. And if you can leave a like and a subscribe, it'll really help the channel grow.